So hey guys, so today we have with us Mr. Shubham Mishra who recently grabbed an amazing internship offer from DE Shaw, and DE Shaw is considered one of the most toughest companies to crack in IIT Kharagpur. And Shubham did this while not doing competitive programming at all. Like he himself says, he's not really fond of CP. So Shubham, would you like to introduce yourself? Like, do you want to add anything else to introduction?
So like every other fresher that gets into IIT Kharagpur, I was also told by the seniors, like if you want to crack an SD job or an internship, then you need to be good at CP. So I started doing CP in the second semester, but didn't really find it very interesting. And day by day, my interest actually dropped. So yeah, I was good at algorithms, but I did not really enjoy doing writing algorithms in a 2 hours time bounded fashion.
Yeah.
And so so that's why I did stop doing CP.
Okay. So like, what are you interested in right now?
Okay, so my interests are generally in systems. So I like cryptography, and I'm actually working on it right now, and also security, privacy matters, and also like I love building systems, like let's say backends of uh, different websites, or let's say some web applications. I have developed quite a few, and this is what I do really.
Okay, great. So like let's come on to like to the preparation for DSHA. Like you're not a CP guy. So how did you exactly prepare for CTC, and what were the roles you were targeting for? Like since you're not interested in competitive programming.
Okay, so apart from competitive programming, I am also not very good at machine learning and stuff. So the only profile that I targeted for, and this was kind of somewhat my dream, one of my many dreams, was to become a software engineer at some good company. So definitely I targeted for the software engineering profiles only, and not the data science profiles. So yeah, uh, so 2 months prior to the CDC journey, I mean the coding test, starting of the coding test,
Yeah.
I got a bit serious about CDC, and then I started doing questions from lead code and interview bit.
Okay. So like was there any particular pattern in which you solved interview bit and lead code? Like
So
yeah.
there was a nice initiative by Grimoire of Code, where they took a few students and formed a group with a good senior who was good at competitive programming. So he started guiding us, but that program actually stopped after some time, and then I was stuck with interview bit, and interview bit has this nice platform where it has some guided exercises that
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
need to do topic wise. So I started solving it one after the other, and by the end of like uh, when by the beginning of the coding test season, I actually completed almost like 90% of the courses, 90% of the topics, and then by within the middle of that coding test period, I actually completed it.
Okay. Like so, did you solve all the questions from interview bit, or did you solve like 2 to 3 questions of
No, no,
each
no, no,
bucket?
not actually that. I usually saw that if the topic was very easy, then I would solve like one problem maximum from a topic, and then move on. And then if I found that the first problem that I picked up was a bit too hard, then at first I would spend really lots of time to learn that concept and solve it, get it accepted. Then I would solve 2 3 more questions, and then try to solve a hard question of it. And that's how I prepared. In that given that much short time, it is not really feasible to solve every question of
Yeah,
interview
yeah,
bit.
yeah. Okay, like, and you also mentioned lead code. So how did you solve lead code? Like, was there any strategy?
Okay, so lead code, yeah. So what I found on lead code is that people generally tell us to not get means not get very happy with solving easy questions, because they're really easy. So what I did was I did a few medium questions, one or two hard questions, and that was it. So lead code I actually started, but discontinued after some time, and the primary focus was for me was on interview bit alone.
Okay, okay. So this was the preparation bit, and you say like you're not a fan of computer programming. Like you told me earlier that you were only a 3 star at Code Chef, and with that you cracked T Shaw. So could you please tell us about your interview experience, right from the coding test till the last interview?
Okay, so it's been quite a while since the coding test, so I don't really remember the questions, but the questions are not that tough. Like it was not
Okay.
very tough. So there were three coding questions in, I guess, 2 or 1.5 hours. I don't remember exactly now. I could solve two questions completely, and the third one was half solved. Like half of the test cases were passed, and the other half did not. Uh, that was it. So after that, got
Like,
really
what were
anxious.
the
Like,
difficulties of these questions? Like, based on, say, lead code, easy, medium, hard? Like, what was the difficulty range?
okay, so what I can remember right now, it was around medium questions, I
Okay,
think.
lead code, medium.
Not that easy, not that easy. Like, and yeah, so they were bit of algorithmic questions. They were not based on data structures. I
Okay.
think one question was on dynamic programming,
Hmm.
and the other honestly I don't remember
Yeah,
the
it's okay, it's
exact
okay.
topics of the questions.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's get on to the interviews. Like, how many interviews did you have, and could you please get on to the details of those?
Oh yeah, sure. So I had two rounds of interviews. So the first round was like around 7 a.m. In the morning. So it started with like the interviewer introducing the usual pleasantries. Then after that he started asking about questions regarding Python. So he first asked me whether I was comfortable with Python or C++. Like how would I rate my knowledge in Python and C++? So I said that if I say that my Python is 5 out of 5, then C++ would be 3 out of 5. So he started doing a rapid fire on Python trivia. So it had quite a few complicated, like very I would say intermediate to advanced kind of Python internal questions, like for example, what are context managers and stuff like that.
Okay.
So after that, he started asking C++ questions. So this time I was prepared. Actually, there is a pattern in D-Shaw interviews which I kind of researched the night before. So they generally ask about Python, the C++ object-oriented programming.
Okay.
Most importantly, the virtual functions and stuff like that. So I read about how virtual functions are implemented, virtual methods are implemented in C++, and yeah, so they asked about that questions, and I think I answered them quite satisfactorily.
Okay. Okay.
Then after that, after all this, there little time was left for the interview. It was around going to be quite time consuming. It was around 50 minutes have passed, uh, and there was no time bound. But I think they had their internal time bound of like around 1 hour.
Yeah.
So in the last few minutes, actually, they gave me a coding question, and that question was typical. That question was really difficult actually to come up with a solution in that 5 to 10 minutes amount of time. I actually came up with a recursive solution which was not very efficient, but then the interviewer said that it's okay, and he moved on.
Okay.
So then after that, since that coding questions, I could not do that coding question. I was not very sure whether they would select me for the second round, but one thing I was confident enough was that I have aced the Python and C++ part. So yeah, so the next so then after like an hour, I got the confirmation from the placecom member who was handling us that I have been promoted to the next round. And in the next round, actually, the person who took the PPT of the show actually came to interview. So it was like quite intimidating seeing him there.
Yeah.
So he saw my CV and the performance in the past the round one interview, and then he again did a rapid fire on Python internals.
Okay.
But this time it was a bit short. Then he asked me a coding question, and it was a standard dynamic programming problem.
Yeah.
But that problem could have been also solved in a non-dynamic programming way, and the solution would be much more efficient. So the dynamic programming solution is like O(n) square. It actually can be done in O(n) log n. But
Okay.
the thing is that if you don't know that solution, it is very difficult to come up with that solution by your head at that time. So he actually asked me that question. So I could easily give him the dynamic programming solution. I coded it up in C++, and they ran it on a few test cases, and they all passed. So yeah, after that he asked me that you write in your CV that you know SQL. So can you solve for me some SQL problems? I said yes, and so he moved on and gave me one or two SQL problems, and I almost solved them. But he also told me to optimize the queries, which I did not have that much knowledge at that time. So I did what I could, and yeah, that's all. That's all for the interview. And then around like 12 a.m. in the night,
The mail came.
acceptance mail came. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So they did not really focus on coding questions as such, and they focused on your CV. Like, and you mentioned Python, so they drilled you on Python. You mentioned SQL, so they grilled you on
Yeah,
SQL.
that was actually quite surprising for me. I was expecting expecting algorithmic questions to come my way,
Yeah.
but yeah,
And was this
they
the
did not.
same? Was this case the same for the other interns as well?
I am not sure because I talked with another guy. He probably means he gave the interview and was very confident, but he was not selected finally. But he told that he was asked some complicated string matching questions and stuff.
Okay.
So I think most probably they went for my CV and saw that I have some interest in system building and stuff, and not that much in competitive programming. Which becomes apparent if you like see the competitive programmer CV. They generally have the like
Rankings,
how much rating
ratings.
they have
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and I didn't have any of that.
So now let's come on to like what do you think your recruiter was looking for like when they were hiring D-Shaw interns? Like how many people got selected at the end?
Um, I think around 3 to 4 people, including me, got selected for the SWE positions. So I think what the recruiter was looking for in me and the other candidates was like the depth of the knowledge. So whatever I knew, if I knew well, then I think that was good for them actually. So it's the what does I think what does Disha mainly do? So it does hedge funding, right? So
Yeah.
I think for them it is required that I knew a bit of systems so that I can develop quick and fast system software which can actually do their funding and I think that the stock management applications quite well.
Yeah.
So I think I knew their stuff, and even I asked them like what is the tech stack that they use. So they told me that mostly they are using Python, and since I had good knowledge of Python, I think that's why I got selected.
Okay, so they were looking for people who are proficient in Python, and I think that played a big role, like you said. Okay,
I think
so
so.
like,
I think so.
okay, so let's get on to your resume. So what did your resume exactly look like? What were the projects, and what do you think constitutes a good resume for any person who is who wants to get into D-Shaw, who is sitting for D-Shaw?
Okay, so my resume generally consists like CDC resume has a format you will know very well. You cannot really go
Yeah.
beyond that format. So I think my resume had these sections. The first one was like my CGPA and department rank and stuff like that. Okay, and then on I had some like what experience did I have like in terms of like the subjects I have taken and the tools that I know how to use and the programming languages and frameworks that I know. That thing was there, and it was like quite quite full because I have worked with lot of different kinds of system software and frameworks. So it was quite full, and then they had that previous internships or project experiences. So there I actually mentioned quite a few. I had previously been in the team that built the backend of IIT Tech Ambit, which is like a magazine building organization in Kharagpur. And also like I have worked on cloud systems like AWS on a project in Center for Artificial Intelligence. So that was there. I think that caught their eye, I guess. Then I had quite few good personal projects as well. So I developed a better version of the question paper search engine MFQP that we use in KGP, and that thing is still the start of my resume until something better comes
Okay.
out.
Okay, great. Like I have seen that you're very interested in open source. So did open source play a huge part in your interviews or in your resume or such?
No, actually, see, being involved, see, companies look for people who are involved in open source because they by that they can actually judge the metal of your like programming capabilities. So like you can so if you have a strong GitHub profile, like you have good contributions to places, and like you
Yeah.
maintain good coding habits, then they know that they will know that they can that we can actually come and fit in their organization very well, because we know how industry level coding is done because of those involvements in open source. So I they did not ask me any questions on my open source involvement, but since my CV contained my GitHub profile, I am sure they might have looked through it.
Okay. Okay. So like now we have covered the resume part. So what are some final tips that you would like to give to people who are sitting for the internship and want to get into these companies like D Shaw and these big companies?
Okay, so final tips is that so if you want to develop, like if you want to go for fang companies like you have done,
Yeah.
so for you people, I think CP is a must. But
Yeah.
apart from that, I don't think CP is like a very big necessity. The biggest necessity is like having a knack to learn about algorithms. Algorithms are big necessity, but CP is not. There is a fine difference between doing CP and
Yeah.
doing algorithms and data structures. So like if you practice honestly and diligently for the last few months, like 2 months or so in the summers, then it will be enough to crack a good internship actually. So yeah, so
Okay.
you need to but the thing is that CP will help you cross the first barrier, that is the coding test. Then after that your CV will speak. So if your CV is very blank, then it will be definitely a problem. Then the interviewer will have nothing to talk about except for coding questions.
Okay, so basically, it's good to have a few projects on your CV so that
Yeah,
you can break the ice with the interviewer, so that you have something to talk about with the interviewer. And what
yeah,
CP does
exactly,
is
exactly.
CP. So CP helps in enhancing your problem-solving ability, the ability to solve problems quickly and in
Yeah,
time
right,
bound as well.
exactly. Yeah, it is required because like it gives you a guided pathway that you can solve the problem and pass the test cases.
Yeah,
So it gives you a way to solve problem solving ability, increase your problem solving abilities. But say if you are really into developing good software, then you will be solving real world problems, and if you can do that well, not like
yeah,
like just a proof of concept toy software you are doing. Not like that. If you are trying to, if you can build something well enough that people can come in and contribute to your project and think that it is important for their community, that is actually a good achievement. And from there you will be able to learn how to solve real world problems, and from there actually it will come to you wherever you need algorithmic improvements. You will feel that you actually need to think about the algorithms. From there you will be able to apply your algorithms that you know from your algorithmic lectures. So that is how I feel
Okay.
actually.
Okay, great. Yeah, great. So yeah, thank you so much, Shubham. Thank you for this immense interview,
Okay.
and I think the people are going to love this and the amount of knowledge that you have given out in this interview.